I reach out to Mrs. Stereo by myself after I find out Sheila McCarty went behind my back and Ed Elber's back to meet with Mrs. Stereo about this project illegally. She didn't have any permission to meet representatives or represent us in any fashion about this project because the project was still on the hands of A&E, History Channel. So what I did, I asked Sheila, I said, what happened over the weekend? You say you had something to do. She says, I went to meet with this lady who I've been talking to, and she wants to put up the money for this picture. And I said, why do you want to meet with this lady? Who is this lady? I was very upset that she went, and I said, you have no authority to go and chop this project around because we have an outstanding contract with A&E. So you can't do that. What is the name of this lady? She refused to give me the name of this lady. So finally she says, her name is Elizabeth. I said, Elizabeth what? I don't remember her last name. I said, well, you got to tell me because we might be breaching something here with A&E. So I need her name. So 30 minutes later, she calls me. She says, her name is Elizabeth Tirod. I said, well, spell it for me. So I spell it, and she wouldn't put me in contact with her to find out what is it that she discussed with Mrs. Tirod. So what I did, I went on my Facebook account and I found Mrs. Tirod, and I sent her a message. I said, it's very nice to hear that Sheila wanted to meet with you. I heard great things about you. And then Mrs. Tirod responded to me, oh, blah, 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 blah. That's how I met her.
Okay, so you reached out to her
Yes.
through an email.
To find out about, no, not email, sir, Facebook.
Facebook.
Yes,
Okay.
I wanted to find out.
All right, you've
Okay.
answered his question.
And do you remember meeting for the first time with Mrs. Terrio?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Where did you meet?
here in Los Angeles.
Where? At where?
She came here twice.
First time was
New Wave.
you went to New Wave Production?
Well, the first time I met her at the airport.
Okay, and then you met her at the airport.
Yeah.
And then did you guys drive together to New Wave?
Not so quickly. We had some time to talk about certain things.
Okay,
About
so
the
you
film.
met her at the airport. Where did you go before you went to
She
New
wanted
Wave?
to eat something.
So you went somewhere to eat?
Yes, we went.
And then you went to New Wave.
Yes.
Why did you go to New Wave?
Why? For the purposes of they wanted to render their services to edit the film, the picture.
Okay. How did you know that?
How do I know them? Through Ed Elber.
Okay. And how did you know they wanted to render their services for the film?
Ed Elber told me. My partner.
Had you talked to New Wave before this, or was this the first time you're talking to New Wave?
Before what is this?
Before the meeting.
Of course, I talked to New Wave several times, and me and Mrs. Stereo talked to them, for days and days. And
Okay. So you had talked to New Wave prior to Mrs. Terrio being involved with you, correct?
I needed to talk to them and see what they were trying to offer to
Well,
us.
I understand, but what I'm saying is...
Yes, sir, the answer is yes, I talked to them, yes.
You talked to them before.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to establish. And what did you tell Mrs. Did you discuss the documentary, I assume, when you picked Mrs. Terrio up at the airport?
I discussed a documentary with her way before.
Way before that.
Oh yeah, we had plenty conversations.
How
answer
long
the
did you
question?
meet her before? How much time transpired between your sending of the Facebook and your actually meeting her?
Months.
Months.
Months, yes.
Okay. So how did you communicate her during those months between Facebook and
Cell
in-person
phones, sir.
meetings?
Cell phones. That's what we have. Cell phones. 2, 3.
That's the question.
Okay. You communicated by cell phone.
Yes, sir.
Did you also communicate by email?
Of course. You got all the emails.
Okay. I'm just trying to confirm.
Okay.
Okay. And in your best recollection, what did you tell her the documentary was going to be?
Oh, see, we're not going to discuss what's in the documentary.
I'm not talking about what's in the documentary. I'm asking you what you told her the documentary was going to be.
I'm going to object to ambiguous, overbroad.
Let's just mark it.
You've had numerous conversations.
I had thousands and thousands of hours and minutes discussing the documentary with Mrs. Theriot. I even went to Guatemala for 3 months to meet with authorities and archaeologists, and I had a phone bill up to $6,000 talking to your client every day, hours and hours about this documentary.
You had thousands of hours of talking between when
I
you...
have the phone records also, yes.
Sir, let me complete it.
Okay.
Between when you first sent Facebook and when you actually met with her.
Yes, sir.
Thousands of hours.
And I have the phone records, yes.
During those 3 months, correct?
It was months and months and months before I met Mrs. Theriot. Guatemala was just part of the entire time that I actually communicated with Mrs. Theriot.
Okay. So you went to Guatemala before you ever met with Mrs.
Of course, yes. I was under contract with A&E.
Okay. So you weren't doing it in conjunction with any possible deal with Mrs. Theroux. You were doing it because of A&E.
I was doing it. I was doing work for A&E. They needed a full report of the archaeologists, a complete report.
And prior to meeting with Mrs. Theroux, you hadn't done nothing to further with regard to the relationship between you and Mrs. Theroux, other than talk.
Other than
send
talk
emails.
and yes, sir.
Okay. But you did nothing on the documentary as
With
a response to your contact with her.
We couldn't done anything at the time because Mrs. Theriot knew that I had agreements with History Channel, and not up until the agreement was either a green-lighted project or they were going to let it go. That's what, we were supposed to meet with her and discuss everything, more details.
Okay. At any point, did you tell either Ed Albert or Sheila McCarthy that they could not speak with Mrs. Theroux about the documentary?
Yes, I did.
You told both of them?
Yeah, I told them both, yes.
Why is that?
Because we had a contract with A&E, with History Channel. And I said, even Ed Albert says, as an ethical rule, we don't discuss anything, Sheila. We don't discuss anything. We don't go and shop for money anywhere until...
Is there any time after you concluded your deal with A&E and entered into a deal with Mrs. Theroux that you told Ed Albert or Sheila McCarthy that they could not speak to Mrs. Theroux?
I didn't tell Ed Albert not to speak with Mrs. Theroux. We were talking together with her. We were communicating with her. I told Sheila not to communicate with Mrs. Theriot.
Even after you had entered into an agreement with Mrs. Theroux?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because she was conflicting. There was a lot of conflicts between Sheila, us, and Mrs. Theriot because of this gentleman that Mrs. Theriot apparently was going to finance or was going to do business in regards to this documentary by the name of Mr. Hans. And
Mr. Hunt.
I don't know how to spell his name. Hans. It's just Hans. You will know who Hans is anyway. So I told Sheila McCarthy, you can't be talking to Mrs. Theriot anymore because there's a lot of turbulence, and we need to resolve this turbulence. Me and Ed Albert, because Ed Albert is the experienced producer here, definitely has more experience than me. He has produced, big budget pictures, and he's actually supervising the work that we're doing on the process of making this film. So why don't you just let me and Ed Albert communicate with Mrs. Theriot?
But you never told Ed. You told Sheila McCarthy she could not talk to Mrs. Theroux, but you never told Ed Albert.
No, I didn't tell Ed Albert that, no. Because we were communicating with her, and there are emails, tons of emails between Ed Albert, myself, and Mrs. Theriot.